Hello, thanks, Paolo. So I'm assuming everyone can hear me all right and see the slides. Awesome, brilliant. Right, okay, so firstly, I want to say thank you to the R Pharma team for giving me this opportunity. And secondly, thank you to all of you for finding the time in your schedules to tune in and listen. So day 2 of R in Pharma. Hopefully you'll agree when I say what a conference it's been so far. The true epitome of what open source is all about, the sharing of knowledge, code, and ideas. So to start, I just want to say that everything I say here is my own opinion and experience and don't necessarily represent the views of GEM or any other organisation I mention. Okay, so then, first of all, who am I? So I'm currently our implementation lead at GEM Programming Solutions, and I've been in the industry for about 2 to 3 years now. Prior to this, I completed intensive SaaS and open source training after graduating from university. For those of you who have heard from me before, it won't come as a surprise that I'm a major advocate for open source, having clearly seen the benefits of its principles. I've been contributing to Admiral since it became open source in 2021 and have also started to expand my horizons by contributing a little bit to Exporter as well. And for something a bit different, I have this soft spot for goats. No idea why. I'm sure I could think of something deeply philosophical about their independence and innovation, but to be perfectly honest, I just like them. Okay, so what am I talking about today then? Right, so set the scene. Last Sunday, I'd gone for a walk to my local reservoir. It was dry in wet Wales for once. I tend to find I do my best thinking in the fresh air. Anyway, I knew I wanted to speak about something to do with the Pharmaverse and Admiral because that's where my experience is. And then I was thinking, okay, why don't I generalize this to open source, as this is the big motivator for the Pharmaverse. Oh, I wonder how it came about. And if people can see where I'm going with this, then well done. My brain works in quite a unique way at times. Awesome, we got the history of open source, brilliant. Now, I'm not one for sticking with traditional titles though. So I had to go one step further. If you recall, I was at a reservoir where there were birds, which naturally makes you think of Darwin, or that might just be me. Boom, there we had it, on the origin of open source. Awesome. Right. Right. Before I go any further, I just want to briefly introduce the Pharmaverse and Admiral for those who perhaps aren't familiar with it, though I'm sure many talks have already happened in this area. So the Pharmaverse is a network of companies and individuals who are working towards the same vision of a set of open source R packages for end-to-end clinical reporting in R, from the creation of STMs through to the conversion into ADAMs and onto creation of both static and interactive TFLs. There are numerous packages which are recommended as part of the Pharmaverse, of which Admiral and Exporter are just 2. I could go on to list, but knowing my luck, I'd miss out some key ones. But the main idea encompassing all of this is that openly shared solutions have more transparency in terms of regulatory review and are a lot more efficient in opposed to our traditional siloed approach. Moving on to Admiral. So Admiral, or Adam in our asset library, is a modularized toolbox of R functions which allow the user to create Adam datasets in R. It started as a collaboration between Roche and GSK, but since going open source has expanded with several other companies now making up the core team. Despite Adam datasets following a consistent standard, they can vary vastly from sponsor to sponsor and even study to study, and therefore a black box solution wouldn't really work here. By adopting a modular approach where each function focuses on one purpose, it allows each user to have full control over the structure and contents of the Adams. Users then can extend functionality by creating their own functions or modular blocks. Right, okay, on to the main part of my talk. If I can get the slides to show. Awesome. Right. Okay, think for a second. The phrase open source has been passed around a lot over the past couple of years in the pharma industry, but have you ever stopped to think about where it all started? Or maybe you already have researched this previously, or dare I say it, have been following its progress since the beginning. My answer to this was most certainly no idea. I learned a lot about this whilst putting together the presentation, and I'll share with you some of the key ideas I found. Okay, so open source can be seen as far back as the 1950s, 1953 to be precise, when the A2 system, which is apparently equivalent to today's compilers, was released along with its source code. However, unfortunately, there were no other advancements until the 1980s. There was a massive blank space over the 60s and 70s where closed source solutions ruled due to expense. The main movement, if as we call it, of open source came in the 1980s with a man called Richard Stallman. He presented the GNU project in 1983, a free open source operating system to compete against proprietary systems. He also went on to found the Free Software Foundation, who, whilst initially were employed to create this free software, they continue this day to enforce the copyleft license, GPL, or GNU General Project License, which Stallman created in 1989. The concept of sharing code and ideas continued into the 1990s, which culminated with the Open Source Initiative being founded in 1998 by Eric Raymond and Bruce Perens, and the term open source was coined. There were several key releases of open source in the 90s, such as the Linux kernel, the Python interpreter source code, and of course R, which was open sourced in 1955. As people have seen, I'm sure open source has continued to exponentially expand over the next couple of decades. And to be honest, so has R. So some of the key developments to remind us, the first stable release happened of R in 2000. Our consortium was founded in 2015, and the inaugural conference of this R in Pharma happened in 2018. And to finish off our travel through time, Admiral and Pharmaverse came about in 2021. But that's all very well and good, you might say. But why should I care? What's in it for me? First of all, development opportunities. When I joined the industry, I knew R and I'd used GitHub for my dissertation, but this was only ever for myself. So things like feature branches, pull requests, CI/CD, I had no idea about. And then it's not just the technical skills, your communication and team working skills will also improve, where you need to make your ideas and issues clear to those who you're perhaps not used to working with. Next, if it comes up, networking opportunities. Becoming even a small part of an open source project, you meet an awful lot of professionals from all walks of life, all working towards a common goal. In the short time I've been in the industry, I've had the opportunity to meet and connect with who I think are some of the key advocates for R in the pharmaceutical industry. I'm not going to start name dropping, I'll miss someone, and I don't want to do that. But honestly, it's been amazing how my professional network has grown and the opportunities that it's brought me. Finally, knowledge expansion. Working with a wide range of professionals from all over the industry, you hear a lot of different opinions and approaches for tasks, and it really widens your view on the industry, as well as good programming practices and software development lifecycle. I realise that we're running short on time. So just quickly, what's in it for the company? So if you're a key stakeholder for the company, you may be thinking, well, that's great for the individual, but what is it doing for the business? To start with all those skill improvements, you'll have better equipped employees. People will have a larger understanding of good programming principles and a wider view of the industry, and they will be able to bring in-house some of those similar experiences shared from others and help guide recommendations. You've got more time to spend on those key decisions, as you'll be focusing more on the improvement of solutions as opposed to starting from scratch. And finally, by using open source tools across the industry, it means that there is a lot more transparency when it comes to submission to regulatory agencies, and they're able to see exactly what processes are in place for creation and maintenance of accuracy, traceability, and reproducibility. Right, so skip over that as running out of time. And I shall say, finally, before I let you continue, leave you on with the rest of the Pharma conference, let me leave you with these three considerations. Open source brings a lot of benefits. It would not be as popular as it is today after about 40-ish years if it didn't. Look at how far Admiral and Pharmaverse have come in just 2 years. Two, where's my mouse gone? Sorry. come and give it a go. Find a project that you're interested in and reach out. Don't be afraid. We're all learning. And finally, together we can harness the power of open source to decrease the gap between medical discovery and patient recovery. And thank you for listening.